Welcome to the United States. It's time to prepare for one of the most important parts of your time here, being a student. In this video, you will learn about U.S. academic culture, what the expectations are for students, and tips for how to be a successful student in the U.S. To start, let's talk about the structure of classes. Lectures are larger classes where professors typically talk while students take notes. However, students are allowed and encouraged to ask questions during the class. Lectures may also have discussion sections. These include smaller groups of students from the class and a teaching assistant or TA. During these sessions, students are expected to actively participate in class discussion and ask questions. Seminars are smaller classes that are usually focused on a more specific topic. They often involve a lot of reading and writing, and students are expected to actively participate in the class discussion. So what exactly does active participation mean? In the U.S., students are expected to contribute to the class discussion on a frequent basis and can even be graded on their participation. When students have something to share, they will raise their hand. Students are expected to share their thoughts about the readings and course material. This does not just mean repeating what the professor said. They must develop their own well-informed views or opinions on the topics discussed. This could include saying whether you agree or not with what the author said and explaining why, connecting ideas brought up in one reading with another, critiquing the reading and pointing out any flaws in the author's arguments, or asking a question inspired by the readings or discussion. It is fine to disagree with the professor and your classmates. In fact, it's encouraged, as long as it's done in a respectful manner. Tolerance and respect are strongly valued in all class discussions. This type of participation may be very different from what you're used to, and sometimes international students are hesitant to speak up because they're afraid of making mistakes in English. The more you practice speaking up in class, the more you will improve your English and become more confident in participating. The relationship between students and professors tends to be fairly informal. You may be used to a classroom environment that looks like this, where the students may not speak much in class and may address the professor very formally. In the US, the classroom environment looks more like this, where there's more interaction between students and the professor, and they address the professor in a less formal way. You may even hear students address a professor by their first name, though this can vary. Always start addressing a professor in the most formal way, saying their title, professor, and then their last name. They will let you know if they wish to be addressed differently. In the US, professors want to get to know their students. The best way to do this is by attending their office hours. Office hours are set times during the week for students to visit the professor. This is a great opportunity for you to introduce yourself and ask questions, especially if you're not comfortable doing so in class. When going to office hours, make sure you know what you want to talk about ahead of time. Now let's talk about some of the rules in U.S. academics. Being on time is very important. Students are expected to arrive a few minutes early before the stated start time for class. They're also expected to turn in assignments by the deadline date. If something comes up that would prevent this, talk with your professor. You must also follow the school's academic honesty policies, which are a set of rules about what behavior is and is not allowed when it comes to academics. There are two main forms of inappropriate behavior. Cheating is deceit, fraud, or dishonesty in an academic assignment. This can be when a student uses unauthorized materials during an exam or gets help from someone else to complete an assignment without notifying the professor. If you are unsure of what assignments you're not allowed to work on with others, talk to your professor. Plagiarism is presenting someone else's ideas or words as your own without acknowledging the source of information. This can happen if a student is doing research and copies information from a website into the paper, but doesn't reference the source. Not realizing they were plagiarizing is generally not accepted as an excuse, so when in doubt, cite the source. Institutions take these rules very seriously, and breaking them can result in failing a class or getting expelled. If you have any questions about them, ask your advisor or your professors. Most schools will have resources on campus, like a writing center, where you can get help with English grammar and writing papers, as well as tutoring for specific subjects. Many of these services can be free. Make sure you ask your advisor or visit student services if you don't know what resources your campus has. It is ultimately your responsibility to take the initiative and seek out help. Americans value individualism and are trained to think about their own needs and responsibilities. People are there to help you, but they won't know that you need help unless you tell them. We hope this presentation helped you better understand U.S. academic culture and gave you some tips for how to be a successful student here. Remember that there are many people here to help you as you adjust to your new environment. Welcome again, and good luck!